The following is a paid issue advertisement.
If the vote count is accurate, then how come the number of voters is different? And if it's not accurate, then why was it certified? We are suing Letitia James and the New York State Board of Elections for a conspiracy against fundamental rights. This is not about who won. It's not about what party. It's about the fact that they don't care about your rights.
Paid for by RealAmerica.vote, a DBA of New York Citizens Audit Civic Fund, Incorporated.
Go to RealAmerica.vote. He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And happy Tuesday night, everyone. Beautiful day today in the New York City area. Hope you're enjoying a nice spring. Not the best, a little cool in our area, but for the most part, the days keep getting longer, and summer will be here before we know it. Memorial Day weekend is already a week and a half away, which is just insane. This has been a very, very fast-moving year. When you have a couple jobs like I do, the days tend to go by quite quickly, and that's maybe a good thing. Anyway, I never lead the show, guys, with a joke, but this thing was so tasteless and so beyond the pale, and I'm not a wimp when it comes to this stuff. I grew up loving George Carlin, Eddie Murphy. I always thought Billy Crystal. I know Billy Crystal isn't seen as like a stand-up comedian per se, but when he did the Oscars, that was something that I absolutely loved to tune in to as a kid. And I could go down the line as far as all the comedians I love now, like a Chris Rock or a Sebastian Maniscalco. Well, they had a roast last night for, I believe it was, who was it again, Elias? It was, does it matter? Kevin Hart. That's right, Kevin Hart. And this thing was very, very dark. I mean, Elias and I my producer, were just talking about it beforehand. Like, you know, there have been roasts in the past. Like the Tom Brady roast got pretty brutal for Tom. Like, you have all the money in the world. I don't know why you would subject yourself to something like that, but I guess everybody has been roasted at some point. Maybe that means you've truly, truly arrived. I was watching a roast with Donald Trump, actually, from back in 2012. He seemed to enjoy it, but that was so tame compared to what we saw last night. And Pete Davidson, I mean, this guy once mocked, it was Crenshaw, the congressman Dan Crenshaw from Texas, who fought for this country in Afghanistan and lost his eye in an IED, like blown off. So he has to wear an eye patch. And Davidson made a joke about it. Like, I understand humor's humor, but, you know, there is a line, right? And Davidson never makes jokes about, I don't know, Democrats, for example. It's always the same thing. But I would say the same thing anyway if you said that about anybody. And then he apologized for it after he got all this blowback, the Crenshaw joke. And then a couple weeks later got mad that he apologized for it and says, no, actually, I take the apology back. So I don't know what the deal is with this guy. But apparently the coke is working on some level, I suppose. But here he is making putting this in scare quotes, joke about Charlie Kirk, and there's absolutely nothing funny about this. This is cut number 7. Go.
Tony reminds me of Charlie Kirk, and that he's definitely been on camera letting a guy unload in his throat.
I mean, so let's see. He's talking about Tony Hinchcliffe, I guess, Davidson was. That's a gay joke and a father of 2 very young kids got murdered joke, not even within the last year. I just don't. I'm sorry. I get these things are supposed to be edgy, but that's just a whole bowl of wrong. And it made me think, okay, well, what were roasts like back in the day when, say, Don Rickles is known as like the greatest roaster of all time, and this is Don Rickles' week here at WABC here in New York, because Rickles would have been 100 years old on Sunday. And here's Rickles roasting Ronald Reagan when he was governor, before he was president. And this is the way I think it should be done. Cut number 8, go.
Well, Dean Martin said to me when Governor Reagan, or Regan, whatever they call you, Reagan, I don't care. What do I care what they call you? You're the governor, and if I got a cousin getting the chair, you better make that phone call. But I say this from my heart, Governor. I've met you once in the hallway at NBC, as you remember. And I'll never forget your words. Get out of the way, kid. I kid you, sir. You are a politician. Black, white, Jew, Gentile. We're all working for one cause. To figure out how you became governor.
That's great stuff. All right, that's humor right there. And that's why Rickles was considered the best. Would have been 100 years old. Obviously missed, but Pete Davidson getting just shellacked on social media today. And you know what? He probably just does not care. I wonder, he does commercials, I believe, for Amazon, for Alexa. I wonder if Amazon's going to say, hey, maybe we want to part ways with this guy. And I'm not for cancel culture. You say it's just a joke, Joe, but I just think I don't want that reflecting in my company, have somebody represent me saying something like that, the way he did about Charlie Kirk. Anyway, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I just filed a column for the Washington Examiner. It will be up tomorrow. And it asked the question, can AOC become president? And then I list 3 reasons, very big reasons, why she will not be. But there was a poll that came out today from Atlas Intel. And Atlas Intel was the most accurate pollster of the 2024 election. When so many got it wrong, they actually got it right. And their poll shows AOC leading all Democratic challengers for the nomination by 6 points. So in other words, she's at 26% support. Then Newsom is at 20%. And it goes like Kamala 13% and somebody else. I got to get it up in front of me. But the point is that the headline here is that AOC, at least in this poll, again, most accurate pollster of 2024, is leading everybody. And you say, how can that be? And then you say, yay, if this happens. I'll give you the exact numbers. AOC 26, Buttigieg 22, Newsom 21, Kamala Harris 13, and then you go down to the low single digits for Andy Beshear. He is the Democratic governor of a red state of Kentucky. Again, listening to him is like watching paint dry. That's 4%. And then Cory Booker, Spartacus of New Jersey, the poor man's Obama, at 4% as well. So that's just remarkable to me. And I guess she has energy behind her because she is the leader of the far left movement in Congress. And the far left movement has some momentum right now. I mean, it has momentum in places like New York City. Obviously, Mamdani got elected, a lot of buyer's remorse around that. We'll talk about him in a moment. Seattle has a socialist mayor, Katie Wilson. Again, somebody who clearly, let's put it this way, she still gets supported by her parents at 43 years old and somehow now is running Seattle, an NFL city. That's utterly remarkable. And some other socialists are winning around the country, but in very blue areas. And in my column, I talk about how I don't think she's going to win the presidency, like even close to coming in terms of winning the presidency. Because I look at every swing state and I don't know how she wins. For example, you got to win Pennsylvania. But if you are against fracking and you're against fossil fuels, and that's going to be a very, very big problem if you want to win Pennsylvania. And Kamala Harris at least pretended like she was moderate. She switched all her positions so she would say all the right things to appeal to people in Pennsylvania, those middle-of-the-road voters, because it truly is a purple state. And it didn't work. AOC is not going to do that. She's not going to pretend to be moderate. She is unapologetically socialist and unapologetically an environmentalist in the most radical ways. And if she thinks that, okay, that's the way to win these elections, that young people support socialism more and they're going to come out and put her over the top, no, it just ain't going to happen in Pennsylvania. It's not going to happen in Michigan because she still supports mandates for electric vehicles, which if you're a United Auto worker, that means less jobs for you, less pay for you, because electric cars are far easier to build than cars that use gas. So you don't have the UAW. Just like Kamala didn't have the UAW in 2024, you lose Michigan. And as Pennsylvania and Michigan go, you lose Wisconsin as a result, because the three usually go hand in hand in every election. Then you look at Arizona, another swing state. Trump won that rather easily in 2024. And if you are for open borders, the way Ms. Ocasio-Cortez is, and you are for abolishing ICE the way she is, and giving amnesty to 11, 15 million illegals in this country, Arizona voters are going to be like, no way. We are not going back to that hellhole that this state became when we had open borders here in Arizona. Now, obviously, everything's shut down, everything running quite well there. So she's not winning Arizona. Nevada, she came out against no tax on tips. In Nevada, that's a big deal because that's where the service union workers basically run the state. So if she doesn't have just those 5 states alone, obviously she can't win. And then if you think she's winning in Georgia and North Carolina, which are becoming more and more red by the day because more people from blue states are moving there, it just isn't going to happen. So you could talk about all you want about it. Oh, well, she's really attractive, I guess. And boy, she's got a lot of energy and she's really good on social media. Sorry, the policies are the policies. And by the way, I also mentioned she has a severe maturity problem. I mean, she cannot handle any criticism whatsoever. Did my research on this. And she has done exactly 4 interviews this year. We're nearly, halfway through May. 4 interviews. One was with Don Lemon, so that can't even count, right? One was with a comedian on her podcast that you've never heard of. One was with Jake Tapper, so you can only imagine how that went. And then one was when she called the New York Times after she had that mess in Munich where she could not answer a simple question around what would your position be if China invaded Taiwan? And the way she gave that answer, for the first 20 seconds, she couldn't find a word to say, stumbled all over herself. It was as if she never gave that question any thought because she hasn't. So this isn't a serious person. It's certainly not to be the commander-in-chief, that's for sure. But here she is, because this is the type of stuff that goes viral for her, I guess, talking about how blacks will be shut out in states like Tennessee because of redistricting that's going on in states like that. There's just one little problem with this argument I'll tell you about on the other side. Cut number 9, go.
When you are seeing states like Tennessee want to wipe out every black representative on the map in these states, we have an obligation as Americans to stand with black Americans and communities whose representation is being disenfranchised.
Oh, all right. The one problem is that the current district, as the lines are drawn right now, that she's talking about, that's being redrawn, is represented by an old white guy. And the person that probably will take over that district after the election, after she earns enough votes, is a black woman who happens to be a Republican. But since there's an R next to her name, then I guess that doesn't count as a black woman. So again, she talks out of her butt, and she always goes to places where she's never challenged. Ever, except Munich, which really wasn't a challenge. She was given a very basic question and couldn't answer it. But, of course, that was with David Axelrod at some conference somewhere. So, of course, no one's going to challenge her on this stuff. She never, ever goes on Fox News, and she never will. So her strategy is to be like Biden. It's a run and hide kind of thing. Just go on places that are friendly and then hope that carries the day. It's not going to work. And then when she has to debate a Marco Rubio or a J.D. Vance, again, I'll use the analogy. Tyson Spinks, 88, 91 seconds, rhetorical knockout. She may quit halfway through. It'll go that badly for her. Anyway, before we get a break, her accent also has returned. She was in Georgia, swing state, so maybe she is running. I don't know. She says she has bigger ambitions than the U.S. presidency, which is a really weird thing to say because, I mean, outside of the U.S. presidency, what possible bigger ambition as an American can you have? And she says, well, I just want to change the world. You okay? If you're president, you probably have a better chance of doing that than just putting up videos on Instagram all day. But I guess that's just the way it goes. Anyway, the accent has returned because this person, on top of all the things I talked about, the policies are wrong, the mentality, the maturity, the mindset is wrong. And oh, by the way, she's an absolute phony. This is cut number 10. Go.
No man can grant us our humanity. No law can erase it. No king, no system, and no president can strip it away, Ebenezer. Because it is not given by man, it is ordained by God. Thank you, Ebenezer Church.
Ebenezer Church down in Atlanta. So I guess she wanted to speak the way the congregation wanted her to speak, and they applaud. Wouldn't you boo her out of the room? Get out of here, you phony. You don't talk like that. I don't get it. Democrats do this over and over again, and they somehow get away with it. One more thought on AOC. She talks about being a champion of the working class, right, and lifting up the little people. She flies private. To all these rallies she goes to, she flies private. The girl who said you got to spend trillions to fight climate change is destroying the climate by flying private. And again, since she's in safe spaces, no one ever asks her about this, but I wish someone would. And if she runs for president, eventually that question, I would think, would come up, and I'd love to hear the answer because, boy, it will be defensive with a capital D, all caps in italics. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show, Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
'77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.
At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV. Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
One crunchy bite of a Hershey's Cookies and Cream Bar, and I'm taken right back to college move-in day. I was a little overwhelmed by the newness of it all. Boxes were everywhere. I needed a break from unpacking. But just as I was able to take a breath and open my Hershey's Cookies and Cream Bar, my new roommate Rachel walked in. I offered her a piece, but she said no. Then after a beat, she said, actually, those are my favorite ones. We laughed. The ice was broken, and we've been friends ever since.
Hershey's. It's your happy place.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, I'm sure you've seen the clips, and it's getting so bad that even my dogs are barking. They're so upset about this. That Zahra Memdani has turned New York basically now into the Middle East. I mean, this is insane stuff that we saw in Brooklyn yesterday, where you have Jewish kids just trying to walk to a synagogue, and they are attacked by these people in headscarves. One guy I saw was wearing a fake suicide vest, waving flags of Hezbollah and Hamas. You would think that you're in the Middle East somewhere, and Memdani, as far as I could see, has not condemned this in any way, shape, or form, because he probably wishes he was with these people, these maniacs that are taking over our city. Here, this is a report from Fox News about this. Cut number 19, go.
Dramatic video shows young Jewish people confronting a mob of masked agitators who scream back at them. Now, some of those agitators waved Hezbollah and Hamas signs and chanted slogans like Free Palestine.
I'm surprised it didn't just go, all the way and say death to America as well. That was Kelly McEnany, my friend over at Outnumbered. So, yeah, I mean, and the scenes are just horrific. And you can't believe, you're like, this can't be New York. It is. And Jamie Dimon, who I think is a dark horse maybe to run for president as a Democrat, that would be a very, very reasonable choice, I think, because this guy makes a lot of sense. But he would probably get cast aside like Bloomberg was in 2020 because he's just too darn sensible and too darn rich and too darn white, I suppose. But anyway, here is cut number 16, where Mr. Dimon is explaining where J.P. Morgan was years ago when he took over and where it is now and why it's happening. This is cut number 16. Go.
Here's a lesson, and this lesson is true for companies, cities, states, and countries. You got to compete. There's no divine right to success. Just read the history books. So our headcount in Manhattan, when I got to J.P. Morgan, was 35,000, and now it's 26,000. Our headcount in Texas, it started at 11,000, now it's 33,000. That's what happens. And, part of it is the highest individual taxes, highest estate taxes, highest corporate taxes, anti-business sentiment, and that's what happens. And, you could be any ideologue you want, but that's the real world, and people vote with their feet.
People vote with their feet. Exactly. And you hear that? They've lost 10,000 employees in New York, and they've gained 20,000 in Texas. It's all about business environment and where you pay less taxes. And Zohran Mamdani is going to accelerate that number 3- and 4-fold by the time he is done trying to raise taxes on people who are giving this city the tax revenue it needs to run. This is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So let's continue what I was talking about before the break. As far as Zohran Mamdani saying he wants to raise taxes to pay for free stuff XYZ, the Oprah mayor, and you get free childcare, and you get free busing, and all the tax revenue, or at least a lot of it, especially from the people that are earning the most, they are fleeing the state. And businesses as well, not just rich people, but even people that run small businesses as well. It's not a friendly environment, so why would you stay? Meanwhile, this whole illusion, by the way, that the more money you bring in from taxes, the better the quality of life will be in your city is just profoundly false. I mean, look at Bill de Blasio. Did things improve under Bill de Blasio despite the fact that he raised taxes? Of course not. We went back almost to the Dinkin days under de Blasio. Eric Adams tried to right the ship. There's a lot to clean up, and he had his own problems. So basically status quo, maybe crime came down a little bit, but still the exodus continued. And now obviously under Mamdani, big problems, where now he's going to, and play the victim while doing it, raise property taxes and say this is the only choice that he had. There's no other way to pay for all this stuff, except, maybe cutting spending. You ever think about that, Zohran? Of course not, because he never run anything in his life. This guy, you wouldn't trust him to run a bath, let alone run the most complex city in the world, but here we are. Anyway, this is really remarkable as far as are taxes really improving quality of life? In this case, education. This is cut number 2, where we talk about how much money per child is being spent in New York City in terms of their education, and the test scores just keep going down. Cut number 2, go.
New York City spends roughly $37 billion a year to educate about 850,000 kids. That's over $42,000 per child per year. And the results are abysmal. 2/3 of fourth graders can't do math properly, and almost 3/4 can't read at grade level. You don't have to be an expert in fractions to know that is bad. Let's agree that the political reality is we cannot reduce the amount of public education spending at all. Fine. What can we do, Mr. Mayor, is tell every mom in New York City that the $42,000 currently spent on that terrible education is going to be her money.
Precisely. Boy, very, very well said there. And I would say I hope Mamdani gets the message, but honestly, I just don't think he cares. He has other priorities, and that is to turn New York into a third world country. Anyway, where do I begin with this? So Stephen Colbert is going off the air. Thank God, because it's been the same joke now for about 10 years. And I've talked about this 100 times, but I don't say take off people off the air because of their ideology. I simply look at supply and demand. It's that simple. And right now, the supply is predictable and the demand is falling. As a result, Stephen Colbert, who has, again, I do not understand this. I've worked in television for a long time. Why does that show need 200 staffers? 200? To do what? It's Colbert talking to someone else across a desk. I mean, you don't need almost any staff to do that. You need a cameraman, you need a producer, fine. Yeah, the band, okay, I get it. But 200? And then he does a monologue, so he has 18 writers for that. So everybody says, oh boy, he's hilarious. And without those writers, he's not. That's certainly for sure. So when you lose $40 million a year for your parent company, CBS, that is unsustainable. And that's why he's going off the air. Not because Donald Trump ordered it. What do you think? Trump has been taking, lumps from Colbert every night for the better part of 10 years. Now suddenly he's ordering for him to go off the air. Who cares? No one's watching. He's a very distant second to Greg Gutfeld, who I've shared this. I don't think Greg minds. Maybe a staff of 8 to 10 people work on Gutfeld. And with a fraction of the resources, a fraction of the money, he gets 1 million more viewers per night, which is really incredible because it's not like he's on a major network. He's on a news channel. And then, oh, here's some comedy, by the way, at 10 o'clock. So just putting that out there. But anyway, this insufferable end of Colbert's run included him last night talking to Jimmy Kimmel. See, I liked it when Letterman and Leno hated each other. I think that's cool. I liked it when the Lakers and the Celtics fought in the finals. Like, literally, it was, I mean, you got to see some of these fouls. I was watching I think it was the 84 finals, and boy, I mean, there's some nasty stuff that went on. Now you see all the players hugging each other before the game, hugging each other after the game. I want hatred. All right. So, but Kimmel, is now ordering all people who subscribe to Paramount, which is now the parent company of CBS, to cancel their subscriptions in solidarity with Stephen Colbert. Oh, yeah, that's hilarious. Oh, no, that's activism, actually. And then last night, we had to see Fallon, Kimmel, Seth Meyers, and John Oliver all there as guests to say goodbye to their friend. Oh, I mean, and the best part is these guys always talk about diversity and how they support DEI. At last check, late night's very, very white, isn't it? Like guys in their 50s, white guys, rich guys, elitists. Yeah, a lot of diversity there. Anyway, here's Kimmel going after Melania Trump again. And it's just, dude, what's your problem? I mean, honestly, want to make jokes about Trump, I guess. Fine, it's part of the contract. But the first lady, who again, he said had the glow of an expectant widow 2 or 3 weeks ago, got a whole bunch of crap for it and then doubled down on it because that's what he does. He loves playing the victim. Well, he's just a classless jerk. There's no other way to put it. Anyway, cut number 15, go.
Did you guys, when you were younger, especially when you're starting on a comedy, did it ever occur to you that you'd be doing a job that the President of the United States would have strong feelings about?
No. You know what's even weirder? We're doing a job that his wife has strong feelings about.
Yeah, you called her an expectant widow, huh? And she got angry about that. And, I mean, just again, Kimmel doesn't go away for some reason. So I guess you'll have to put up with him. I guess Disney likes losing money. And then Disney, instead of being a competitor, on Colbert's final show, Kimmel's going to go dark, just so Stephen Colbert has a much clearer lane that night. Who does that? They are CBS, you're ABC. Why would you do that? Because you agree with him ideologically, I guess, because you all hate Trump? So yeah, we'll lose some more money. It's fine. So as Stephen gets the right send-off. Like, as if this is like Michael Jordan in his final season. Enough! I can't take this anymore. Meanwhile, let's look back on Colbert. A little flashback here, shall we? This is him over the years talking about Trump. And if this is comedy, I'm missing the joke. Cut number 1, go.
Donald Trump has been sworn in as President of the United States. I know. Listen. We're just as confused as you are. Joe Biden did it. I sat down and just started crying with relief. And Evie said, you never have to talk about him again.
Whoops.
And then I cried with joy. After a bizarre and vicious campaign fueled by a desperate need not to go to jail, Donald Trump has won the 2024 election. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May.
That's the best in 2020. And then I thought that I'm never going to have to talk about this man again. And then he wins. Oh, and then he cried. Yeah, real alpha males in late night these days, huh? Well, he's going bye-bye next week. And again, this cannot come soon enough. Meanwhile, over on CNN, they got this show with this girl, Abby Phillip, which basically, if Joy Reid had like a niece, like it would be Abby Phillip. It's just a reincarnation of a Joy Reid, a Joy Behar, a complete liberal, but in the most condescending ways does she speak not only to her viewers, but to her conservative panelists. So liberals there feel empowered to do things where they hope they go viral and they get really, really personal. And it's just bad TV because it ends up people just interrupting each other constantly and yelling. And I like passion sometimes and I like a good debate, but this is unwatchable stuff. And as a result, Abby Phillip's show on, I believe, 10 o'clock on CNN gets something like 500,000 viewers, while Gutfeld gets more than 3 million. So that's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 times the audience. But nevertheless, here's Bakari Sellers, Democrat, who really, really wanted to go viral here, I guess, and probably practiced this line in the mirror before the show about 100 times, going off on Mr. Wonderful. Well, I love Mr. Wonderful. Who doesn't love Kevin O'Leary? But, well, here's Bakari going the D route. Cut number 3, go.
Is that there are people in this country who fought, died, and bled for the right to vote. Don't be a just understand.
Okay. Bakari,
just understand.
I'm pointing something out to you. The Constitution is being upheld. Do you have a problem with that? Do you have a problem with the Constitution of the United States of America? Bakari, I'm going to.
What a joke. And again, he's arguing that people won't be able to vote as a result of this redistricting. Sure they can. Just the lines are being drawn as a result of, I don't know, the Supreme Court ruled that you cannot create districts based on race. So it's the opposite of racism, quite frankly. And in Virginia, they broke the rules. It's very simple. That whole ballot question was horribly drafted, and the state Supreme Court ruled that no, you can't turn a state into a 10-1 Democrat to Republican state. That's 6-5, barely blue, as far as Kamala Harris only winning it by 5 points. So they struck it down. And now we're hearing this plan by Democrats, which is to immediately lower the retirement age of state Supreme Court members in Virginia. It's currently 76. They want to bring it down to 54. Why 54? Because if you go to 54, it gets rid of all the judges that are on there. Then they can appoint new judges, ones that are favorable to the new map, and then the new map goes back into play. I mean, this is Soviet kind of stuff. Like, we are going to change the age limit for all those on the Supreme Court of Virginia from 76 to, 75, 74, 54. Oh. What about those people's rights, by the way, if they try to do this? It's going to get laughed out of the room. They've also gone to the Supreme Court. They probably won't even take up the case. So Virginia, that will be 4 seats not going into Democrat hands. And as a result, Harry Enton, also on CNN, now gives some really, really bad news, regardless of all these lines being redrawn, where Republicans and Democrats are on the generic ballots. Let's put it this way. Democrats at least have to be up 7-8 points on the generic ballot in order to win the number of seats they need to take back the House. That's basically the formula on this one. Well, if Republicans and Democrats are essentially tied at this point, watch out. Cut number 17, go.
You would have thought that the Democrats' lead would expand on the generic congressional ballot. It didn't happen. Look, in March, Democrats were up by 6 points. Look at this now. Democrats are up by 3 points, and I want you to note the yellow lettering. No clear leader. It is within the margin of error. So despite all of the talk about Donald Trump's unpopularity, the fact is Republicans very much remain in the game when it comes to the congressional midterms, which are occurring in, 6 or 7 months at this point?
Yes. Now, here's the problem. All right, if you're rooting for Republicans to keep the House, for Hakeem Jeffries not to be the House Speaker. Inflation report came out today, 3.8%. Obviously, the Iran war is having an impact on that. If that doesn't get under control and gas prices don't get under control, you could redraw all the lines that you want, and Democrats could suck all they want to. Democrats will probably still take back the House. Bad economy always does not go well for the party in power. I'm not saying the economy is bad. The S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, all at record highs. That's all great. There are many positive things that are happening. But the gas prices, I think that's a very, very big deal. And they have to get below $3, show they're going in the right direction, and then I think Republicans hold the House. If they stay where they are now, if this thing continues to drag out, then GOP, Trump, in real trouble. Anyway, before we go to break, here is Jerry Stiller. He passed away 6 years ago today. And I know he did a lot of stuff, but this scene on Seinfeld is probably top 3 all time for me of any scene on any sitcom. This is where Mr. Costanza, Frank Costanza, and his wife are told that George may be dead, and George Steinbrenner delivers the news to them personally, and this is one of the best written skits ever. Cut number 18, go.
He was so young. How could this have happened?
Well, he'd been logging some pretty heavy hours. First one in the morning, last one to leave at night. That kid was a human dynamo.
Are you sure you're talking about George?
You are Mr. and Mrs. Costanza.
What the hell did you trade JP for? He had 30 home runs and over 100 RBIs last year. He's got a rocket for an arm. You don't know what the hell you're you doing?
Well, Keno was a good prospect, no question about it. But my baseball people love Ken Phelps' bat. They kept saying, Ken Phelps, Ken Phelps.
Oh, it's genius.
Jerry, it's Frankenstein's and Mr. Steinbrenner's here. George is dead. Call me back.
It's one of the great episodes of all time. And if you recognize the voice, Steinbrenner was played by Larry David. They never showed his face. They only shot him from behind. But that's a pretty good Steinbrenner from what I remember George sounded like. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. And we wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Your seat cushion can be used as a flotation device.
My seat cushion. Imagine that. Just what I need. To float around the North Atlantic for several days, clinging to a pillow full of beer farts.
Oh. That, of course, is George Carlin. Would have been 87 years old today, and obviously he is missed as well. Well, so much to talk about in California, of all places, and the Democratic Socialists of America, right, the people that hate billionaires and think billionaires should be taxed out of the wazoo and shouldn't even exist for that matter. Well, you'll never guess who they endorsed in the California race. Hint, a billionaire. Cut number 5, go.
Finally, and try to follow this, self-described socialists are backing a billionaire for governor. Quote, much of his wealth, talking of Tom Steyer, was also invested in private prisons and coal mining accumulated by the same things he now decries. However, the most progressive of the current available candidates for governor is Tom Steyer. Time will tell whether he's truly a class traitor.
You know, he made money in coal, and we hate that too. And he's a billionaire. We hate that, but we're going to endorse him because, well, we need some sort of Democrat in there, I guess. Tom Steyer is just a completely clueless person, and he'll probably go against Steve Hilton in that general election. And again, Schwarzenegger was elected this century, right? A Republican can win there. Ronald Reagan, two terms. I get it was in the 70s, but okay, that's fine. And then obviously in the mayor's race, the betting odds just keep going up and up for Spencer Pratt, former reality star who's running the best campaign I have seen in years, on a mayoral level or any level, probably for that matter. And Democrats are panicking so much out there that Karen Bass backed out of a debate that she was supposed to have with Pratt last night. I mean, imagine this. Like, she's like, no mas, like Roberto Duran versus Sugar Ray. I can't go back into the ring with this guy because in the last debate, NBC Los Angeles does a poll after Pratt was dominant to the point where 89% of those responding to the poll said that Pratt won the debate. I mean, that's insane for Los Angeles. But here we go. This apparently is an attack ad that was released by some super PAC in California. And I don't think that this is going to be received the way Pratt's opponents think it will, because, I don't know, it makes him sound like a guy I would vote for. This is cut number 6. Go.
Republican Spencer Pratt is the last thing Los Angeles needs for mayor. Pratt opposes using taxpayer money to build brand new houses for our unhoused neighbors.
Good.
Saying it's time for the homeless to get help or get out.
Yes.
Pratt thinks LA needs thousands more police officers rather than more social workers. And Republican Spencer Pratt thinks public employee unions should have less power, not more. LA is on the right track and needs to stay the course. Vote no on Republican Spencer Pratt.
Did you hear that? He wants more police instead of social workers. Yeah. He thinks public unions shouldn't have the power that they do. Yeah. He thinks that money shouldn't be spent on housing people who are homeless. Yes. Yes to all three, unless they get help, is what he said. I mean, this is just a common sense guy. And here's Linda Moynihan, who I think is a rising star in cable news. She's on Fox a lot, also on CNN. And his message is just, it isn't Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. It's just be a normie. Cut number 12, go.
I think Republicans should be taking copious notes because you just got to embrace common sense and be normal. And he is calling out the fact that leftists in LA seem to be fine with letting people, shoot up in front of schools. They're fine with dogs getting injected with fentanyl. They're doing nothing. And he's calling out some very obvious things that the vast majority of Americans can agree on. And he's going viral because of it. People want common sense.
Is this common sense for real? Like, as an LA voter, as someone that will vote for mayor?
Yeah. So then the liberal jumps in, and you want to defend the status quo in Los Angeles, roll the dice and take your chances. In the end, it's common sense versus chaos. And I love what he had to say about this before we go. He said, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, they're going to vote for me. The only people who are going to vote for my opponents are socialists and communists. If it's that kind of binary choice and you could sell that, boy, he may be the next mayor of Los Angeles, which is just insane to think about. Anyway, this has been an insanely fast hour. I appreciate you joining us. And tomorrow night, we're back at 9 p.m. on WABC and on stations around the country. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.